I've been wanting to embroider on one of Meredith's little dresses, and I think that this white linen one would be perfect. This is my new pattern for Meredith, and I'll put a link down below. But it's absolutely perfect, especially since it's all white linen, and I just have this lace that I put on when I was making it, kind of as decoration. So I picked 3 colors, and I wanted something very, very soft. I'm not going to do anything really, really bright. So I picked these muted, not clear, but muted colors. So I've got a pale pink, and if you want to know what it is, it's 225 DMC. This is just called ecru, and like this linen, it's warm. And to show you the difference, here is a pure white linen, and you can really see the difference there. This is almost like blue. It's really, really white. And on this, you're really going to see the big difference there between the cool and the warm. But on this, it's just really soft. So I liked that. And then I have 372, which is a beautiful green. Again, very muted, kind of mixed colors. Now, what I did is I drew my design, and I'm not going to draw it on the doll dress. I'm just going to follow it. It's going to be very, very simple stitches, just a lazy daisy stitch, and using these 3 colors. I do think before I get started, and when I come back, I'll show you, I'm going to assign colors, because once I start embroidering, it'll be easy for me to put, use the same pink on these little buds or leaves or whatever, and then I'm like, oh no, I wanted those to be green. So I am going to color assign and then start stitching. What you need, and all you need, is an embroidery needle, and I used to only embroider. In fact, I was a silk ribbon embroiderer, and I will do some of that for her dresses. So here is an embroidery needle, and I'm only going to use 2 threads. You can even do 1 thread to make it really delicate. And if you don't know what that means, DMC floss and other embroidery flosses have 6 threads that make up a strand here. And let me show you what I mean. See, there's all those little threads in there, and you pull them apart. And I'll show you how to do that when I come back. So I'm going to color assign my drawing, and I will be right back. So here's my little drawing, my little color key. So I know where's pink, where's that ecru color, and where's that green. And I don't have markers that really catch the subtle colors that I have here, but I know what I'm doing now. So you get your skein of floss. Let me bring myself a little bit closer. And I know I'm pulling this the wrong way. And every time I start one of these, I go online and I'm like, I know there's a way to do this the right way. And I watch, I do it, it works, and then I forget it. So I just pull the loose end like this. And this is about, I don't know, 20 inches. Cut it. And then you want to pull apart. And I just want to pull 2 threads. So I just separate them, and I kind of hold like this, push it out with my finger, just guide it out, and there they are. And then save this, and then with the end that came off first that I pulled, that's what I'm going to thread onto my needle. Now I'm bad. I do lick the end just to make it easier for it to push through. It can cause knotting, so I'll show you what I do. I do just the tip. Oh. And get it on the needle. Oops. Make sure those are all even. And then I just snip off the end so I don't have to deal, because the cotton will start to blow up from being wet and it could cause issues. All right, just kind of stroke it like this to get them to not be so twisty. And I am gonna knot. When I do my silk ribbon embroidery, there's all kinds of special knots, and sometimes we don't knot, but this I'm just gonna knot, make it really easy. So use the knot that you've seen me make a million times. Now, I know where the middle is, right there, because remember when we made the dress, if you got the pattern, there is a fold there, so you can follow that. If you don't have that, you could just take your dress shoulder to shoulder, put it together, and do a little finger crease like that. And there it is, really nice and sharp. But we don't want it to be a design like this to be lopsided. We want it to kind of go right down the middle. And the other thing you can do, if you're just not comfortable freewheeling it here, you could get an erasable pen like this and just decide, well, where do I want this? You know, where do I want that? So I'm going to put my center right down there. There's my first flower. Let me bring this in a little bit more. All right. And this is very balanced, this design. And then you could just make a little dot where you want the other flowers. There's just 3 going up. And please, this does not need to be perfect. It's a very, you know, organic kind of design. And then we have 1 here, 1 there, and then 1 right down at the bottom. So that can kind of be my guide for this whole thing. And then close this up. Now this is air erasable, so I have to work pretty quickly. These are lazy daisy. So we're going to go in through the back. Make sure you don't go through the knot. So I'm kind of holding it over with my finger. Floss goes up and around, and then you just go back in and come up. And again, I'm making sure I'm not going through that knot. And there's the first. And then we're just going to move around. I'm not using a hoop, obviously. So I just go down again, right? Or you could add a little bit. And there goes my needle. Hang on. And I'll show you as I go around what I mean by adding a little. So I'm just going right into the top. And I'm coming down right where I want my next petal to be. And what I mean, you can either go right down, right there, or you can add a little bit of length there. So it looks like it has a little bit of a tip. So the petal kind of goes out like this. All right, and again, I'm going to come in a little bit closer. Okay, and we're just going to keep going around. And they don't all have to be the same length. I'm going to squeeze one more in. Because I like odd numbers. Okay. And then I'm just going to go down. And let's look at what it looks like. So there's our first little flower. All right. And now what I'm going to do off camera is I'm going to make all these others. Each one is going to get a little bit smaller, just like my drawing. There's the largest. Then I have these medium ones and some tiny ones. And that one I kind of made large, but I might shrink it down a little bit. But I'm going to do all of those and then I'll be right. So here we are so far. I've made all my little lazy daisy flowers that look really sweet. And I'm just kind of doing a modified chain stitch in this ecru color, and I'll show you how I do that. Because I was going to do like a stem stitch, but you won't be able to see it, and I'm really interested in getting texture in there. But you could leave it just like this. You could just do little pink flowers, and it will take you 5 minutes. All right. So all I do for this little weird chain stitch, come up where you want to have it start. And then instead of going right where I came out, I'm just moving up a little bit further. So you get like a little hook that way. I'm going to come up over here. And again, like not quite at the bottom. I'm not pulling really tight. Go in, and I just need a little bit coming off the end. Then you just go down with your needle. All right, and so we have a little kind of lacy, open, really natural look there, and very, very subtle. Then to end it, I just take a little stitch, and then I just come up like this. Don't pull too tight. And then I bury it. Make sure I don't come up. Remember, this is all lined. So you could go between the two linens. and then give it a snip. All right, so now off camera, I'm just gonna do down here, down here, down here with this little chain stitch that I've created, and I'll be right back. Okay, let's put in these little leaves. I did a section of it to show you guys. You just cannot go wrong with any combination of pink and green. But even though you don't see that ecru so much, it just gives it this kind of lush feel. So don't discount that. It just adds a bit more heft to our design. All right, again, it's another lazy daisy. So all I'm gonna do is come up and make a couple of leaves. Keep it nice and loose. I have to keep turning this. This is why it's so much easier with a hoop. Okay, so there's one leaf. There we go. And then our next one. Let's see how sweet that is. And then you decide, okay, where am I going to go next? Right up here. Oh, I cut my floss too long. Just a couple right at the end. Okay, very organic, very natural looking, but it is symmetrical because I'm obsessed with symmetry. And that's okay. If you like it to be asymmetrical, you could make your design just going kind of up one shoulder and over. How pretty would that be? Anything. I remember somebody saying to me about flowers. They said, when you walk in a garden and you see the flowers, they all go together. Whatever the colors, the textures, they just look beautiful. And that's what I think about. So even though I could be a little regimented about design, that's what I think about, and it kind of sets me free a little bit. So I went up the two sides. I'm going to go down and put the leaves to there, and to there, and then I'll meet you back here. All right, so all the embroidery is done. Let me just stick my needle here for a second. It's so pretty. Very matte, very natural, subtle, and it just really, I think, looks really pretty. But I can't stop there. I'm going to add some beads. And I used to do a lot of beading, but recently I gave away all my beads, and the only ones I could find, look at this plastic, which is so yellow, they're that old, are these Mill Hill beads. They're Japanese glass beads, and they're kind of an iridescent blue. but it's going to be, again, so subtle. I don't think you're going to see that color that much. I'm using a beading needle. You have to use a beading needle because especially with these beads, they're so small, it's got to go through the hole. So I made my regular knot. At the end, I'm using something that I call Nemo thread. You could, NYMO, comes on this little spool like this. But you have to use a very fine beading thread to get through, again, the beads. So come up, and just to be sure, because this, again, the thread is so fine, you can do a little stitch like this. And the beading needles are so nice. They're flexible, they bend. But just go through a couple of times like this so you don't pop that thread through. Let me get closer. There we go. I came up right in the middle of a flower. And then pick up my beads. See how I just kind of speared a bead on there? Go back down. And there's the little bead right in the middle. And I'm gonna go a little crazy with these beads because they're so subtle. And I want to add just a little bit of glitz to this, a little bit of shine to it. So I'm just going to keep popping my needle through in random spots. Seeing if I could spear. Oh, there I go. When you come in really close with the camera, you have this very small area. So I apologize if I went off camera there. And these are teeny tiny seed beads. They're really, really small. So you could go a little bit bigger if you want, depending on the look that you're going for. Just want to get enough on here so that you see. The other thing you can do is you could go out into the field, you know, this area with the beads. So let me show you what this looks like. So you see that little bit of shine. And that's just what I'm going for. So I'm gonna do all of my beading just all over, and then I just tie it off like I did with everything else in the back, and I'll come back and you can see what the dress looks like. The beading is all done, and it just gives it a little bit of shine, a little bit more dimension. It's just really, really pretty. And it doesn't read as blue, even though those beads were kind of an iridescent blue. But they just look like little bits of dew. Let's dress Meredith in her newly embroidered dress. So let's get this one off. Look at how different this dress can look. Same pattern. It's my new pattern. And again, I'll put the link for that and for Meredith in the description. Okay, let's get this off. And just pull her hands through. The sleeves are definitely fitted for sure. And you don't have to stop with, oh, I love it. You do not have to stop with just embroidering the bodice. You can embroider the entire dress anywhere you want. I'm going to just do 3 snaps down the back. And there she is. Look at how pretty that is. Again, I don't have my camera up high enough. I always forget. But, oh, really pretty. You can do some embroidery at the end of her sleeves, down at the hem. In fact, I might do something like that. Maybe just do those little pink flowers. Actually, I would probably do the entire design, you know, the 3 colors going along the edge. But you don't even need to do that. Just keep it minimal like this. And it's just really sweet, very springy. It looks like her wedding dress. You could definitely make it into a wedding dress. If you did this in a beautiful rich color linen, you could get choose really rich colors of embroidery floss, and you could use sequins or something like that. So have fun with it. Any questions at all, as I always say, please ask in the comments, and I will put the colors that I used. You know, these beads are so old. Look at them. They're called Mill Hill Petite Glass Beads, and they are from Japan. I'll see if I could find them and put the link. It's from 1999, you guys. The date is on there. Oh my goodness, I don't throw anything away. So I will do that. But enjoy. Get out your embroidery floss. Have some fun. If you make the dress out of linen, last thing I'm going to say, linen is really nice to embroider. And this is a vintage linen. I wrinkled it a little bit when I was kind of gathering it up to embroider, but it's beautiful for embroidery. Also, this is my pattern for the bib front apron. This would look so pretty with some embroidery along the bottom and up on the bib like that. So that would be really cool. All right, everybody, until next time, have fun stitching.